Hi, everybody. Welcome to Conversation with Calvin We the Species. I'm talking fast. I talk fast because there's so much we've got to talk about. I've just spent, it's funny. We've been together. BRIANA TROISE, a recent graduate of School for Visual Arts, right? A recent graduate from there, and she has this amazing film called Clean My Room. We're going to talk about that extensively. But we've been just shooting the breeze, talking about film and her journey, and stuff, and we just chatted for like an hour, and now we're
It's
going to
been
do an
great.
interview. But what a fascinating, interesting life you've lived and are living, and the work you're doing with ADHD. Yeah, no, is
Thank you so
so
much.
important, and I'll save my editorial comments. But we've got the spiritual attachment, and I can see that some spirituality is behind you on the wall. Uh,
Yep.
and
The
and
female with male powers, the
Yep,
spirits.
yep, and I always have to plug myself. There's a tortoise in my hair, journey to spirit. My
Check it
spiritual
out.
journey my spiritual journey to spirit. So that is more particulates of commonality that Brianna and I share. So enough with me. Uh, Brianna, why don't you just do a little intro, and then we're going to talk about Clean My Room, which, by the way, is a really interesting title. We'll talk about that. Okay, take it away.
All right. A little bit about me. I grew up in the New York, New Jersey area, right on the border. I you know, I've always been from here. I went to the School of Visual Arts for film and VFX. I really wanted to get basically like a full experience of every single part of the film pipeline. So I took, a double load of everything I could so I could um, learn everything. Came out of it with two short films, including this one. Um, which I directed, wrote, storyboarded, edited, and had lovely, lovely, wonderful people help me throughout the entire film. Met great people and learned a lot. And yeah, this is in part a love letter to a lot of friends that I've had along the way and a internal experience to my own mind. I did a lot of writing, and when I made the script, I put a lot of myself in it. Yep, I'm really excited to talk about it. Uh, it's my baby.
Yes, it is. By the way, it's funny. Norman Mailer wrote years and years ago something about for creative people. And maybe he was talking, well, maybe more he was talking to guys, but he wrote that writing a book is equivalent to a guy giving birth to a baby. It's your
Yeah.
baby. And you know what? It's your baby, my book, my baby kind of thing. So, uh, first burning question, what's Clean My Room about?
Clean My Room's about a girl named Leeth, which for I guess if you want some fun facts, that's the god of forgetfulness in Greek mythology. So it's Elizabeth, short for Leeth. Um, and yeah, she is a 20-year-old girl going on a trip with her friends to California. And she's also a alternative kind of girl. She loves old arcade games and Sailor Moon, and most importantly, her life is wreck. She's got a lot of things to get done, including renewing her ID to make sure she can get actually on this trip through the airport and make it to California. Um, and so to do that, she has to make a list of things to do. Tries to organize by making this list starting from easiest to hardest, the beginning being clean my room. Um, this film is not just about a quirky little adventure where a girl tries to clean her room, but is also, most importantly, a study and a love letter to those who experience ADHD, and a look into the mind of a neurodivergent based off of the VFX that are used to create kind of Leith's mind and a look into her head and what she thinks and does in the everyday. Yeah.
Guess this is kind of personal and you can go with it where you'd like, but what inspired you to make this film?
Um, well, so when I was about 20, I actually went to a therapist for anxiety problems. I felt in college specifically that I was juggling a lot and it was just impossible to concentrate, but I also felt this way pretty much my whole life. Um, Even outside inside of school, it was a inability to kind of concentrate on things that I didn't find a great deal of interest in. An inability to focus on what I didn't want to do. And then after that, outside of it, was, a constant forgetfulness and an inability to remember dates and um, all these other things. And I had no idea were a part of a larger problem. So when I went to a therapist for anxiety, I told her all my problems and I told her I can't focus or I can't concentrate or mostly I have so many things that I have to do and I can't really piece them all together. I always feel like I keep forgetting things and I feel really terrible. I'm terrible with phone calls, I'm terrible with emails and I it's just so much. And she we through a couple sessions she went, "Brianna, I don't think you have anxiety. I think you have ADHD and I think it's giving you a lot of anxiety." And I went, that's crazy. I did fine in school. And so we went through the DSM-5. We went through a lot of information, and my mind was blown. I learned a lot about what I had previously thought was just purely a learning disorder, that you kind of deal with and get extra time for in school. And as a result, I learned that not only did ADHD make me feel lesser, especially in intellect, but also made me feel less competent and less trustworthy by my friends and peers, just being unable to, do things the way that everyone else does them. And so when I made this, I really took a lot of inspiration from the my other friends who had ADHD or friends who could relate to experiences like mine. I asked a lot of questions and I essentially tried to make Clean My Room in the image of the more vulnerable experiences of people with ADHD, especially adults, who might be suffering.
Okay. So I'm digesting and I'm thinking, so I've never heard this category, but would you say this film is an infomercial?
I wouldn't say it's very technical at all. I think it's a great time, to be honest. I think it's a great time and it was made to be a great time. And I think that being emotional and enjoying and understanding a movie that might be about your friends or family or about yourself can also be a awesome experience. I love the set design. I love the acting. Sophie does a great job. I love watching it. It makes me laugh and it makes my friends laugh, and I think it'll make you laugh. So,
So there's a lot of comedic elements to it. Uh,
yeah, it's very lighthearted.
okay.
It attempts to be very lighthearted for a great deal of the movie to kind of I guess, balance a harder
Period.
topic that gets explored
Yeah.
later. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, um, did you have a vision for this film when you started out? Um, did you have like a vision for this as you're starting this out, as you're writing this?
Um, yeah, I had this thought in my mind. I wanted it to be pink. I wanted it to be girly. I wanted to reflect I wanted to reflect her head when we made the film. I wanted it to be a little abnormal. I called it Sailor Moon meets Scott Pilgrim. And kind of as we were doing the VFX and writing the script, imagined a world in Leeth's head that reflected every part of ADHD and its personal experience within a video game-esque format. She has her little magical girl moment. She has her little superhero poses, and yeah, she's kind of a blast. But on top of that, I think the vision was to emulate this like pink and wonderful energy to like go into her head. So the vision very much was to not only create the world of Leeth's head in the film, but to uh, hopefully create an incredibly emotionally empathetic experience.
I like the way you put that. I like that. Um,
Aw.
how does VFX play a role as part of the story?
Um, so VFX plays an important role because it takes, I think, things that are pretty weighty and hard for a person to understand, especially to get into the head of a person with ADHD that has it essentially gamifies it. And what we do with the VFX is we attempt to use the video game S experience, things like a quest marker or like a quest journal or a coin based award system to create sort of an understanding that is outside a like technical DSM-5 book. Essentially, the use of VFX is to elevate the way in which she imagines life. And yeah, I think it does a great job of not only creating sort of a fantasy, but also of creating a very dynamic energy between what is real and what is imagined, and then what is how her brain works differently from other people.
It's interesting how the brain works differently. I like, you know, I'm taking notes. I took notes beforehand.
Ah,
I'm taking notes.
that's so sweet.
Some of these things are great things that you said. Um, we're going to take a
I got
little.
more. I got more.
We're gonna. Well, there's plenty more to go. So we're going to go off topic a second. I have one of my favorite questions. You don't have to answer it, but it's cute. I borrowed it from Barbara Walters because she was a hero of mine. So here goes. Excluding family or friends, somebody living or dead you'd like to spend a day with.
Like to spend a day with. Um, that's tough. I think,
There could be a couple. There's no rules here. We're among friends.
I mean, yeah, I would love to spend time with I think my favorite directors. I would love to spend time with um Mike Flanagan has been like a huge inspiration in my life, actually. Funnily, he's actually directed the show that made me want to pursue film. The Haunting of Hill House kind of changed my life.
Yeah.
It was great. And I kind of would just like love to sit in a room with him and I guess like hear how he thinks about film and talks about stuff like that. I love his thrillers so much. And yeah, I guess that's one of them. Um, I uh Hmm. Yeah, I guess like it's really a tough one. That's really a big one to me.
Don't worry about it. No, don't worry about it.
I
We
guess
can.
Mike's it. I guess Mike's the guy.
That's fine. That's fine. You did good. You
Thanks,
did good.
thanks.
That was a line that Michael Corleone said to Enzo the baker outside the hospital when they try to assassinate the Don in The Godfather.
Yeah, I actually
He
just
looks at,
watched The Godfather the other day.
did you?
Yeah, I did.
That's so funny. When Michael is standing outside and they pretend they have guns and the car pulls up with like eight guys, they want to shoot the Don. They tried to kill the Don and they pretended they were bodyguards and they both had Michael pretended they had guns. They didn't.
Yeah,
And when the bad guys see them standing there like holding guns, they drive away and they save the life of the Don. And of course, Enzo was shaking. He can't even light a cigarette. And Michael looks at him and he said, "You did good." To me, that it's such a powerful line. You did good.
you
I
did
quote that
good.
all the time. So you did good. Okay. All right. Moving on. Uh, what is your favorite scene in the movie?
My favorite scene is the end. It's one final slow shot. I think it takes up a minute of the film time, or two, which for 7 minutes is a good portion. But it's essentially um when she gets to sit down and really hear it out from her friend Gabby about having a real hard time about cleaning her room. um and I wrote down that script and I condensed it and condensed it and condensed it. But what I really loved about it was this panic that she has beforehand and the use that we had of the lighting with the gaffers and the cinematography to kind of shoot um, the internal and use all these like voices in her head to kind of reflect this like deep, deep, deep anxiety and for those anxieties to be realized when she gets on a phone call with her friend and then gets exactly what she was expecting. Um, there's a really interesting quote that I saw a while ago about how ADHD might look like anxiety, but isn't anxiety because anxiety is based off of fears that aren't uh, that aren't rational, whereas ADHD anxieties tend to directly reflect experience, a inability to kind of trust oneself to be or to carry through on tasks that they themselves care about and wish to do. And I really enjoy I like the smack in the face, kind of. I think it's a very important part of the film, and I really wanted to keep it. Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
It's my
Okay.
favorite.
Um, you're a young filmmaker. Uh, what were some of the big struggles you had in making this film?
Yeah, this was the biggest project I've ever done, and also I think my second film ever. I remember the first time I was in a directing position when I was in school. It was like I think I showed up with a lot of animation experience. I showed up with a storyboard for my first script, and they were like, "Okay, but where's your shot list?" And I was like, "What's a shot list?" uh, so that was tough, but I think my biggest struggle was figuring out how to make this happen, how to wrangle together a crew of like 32 people, and collaborate with so many people, and I had so much help, so it was so good, kind of figuring out how to practically make all of that, and I think I became such a stronger person and a better filmmaker at the end. Yeah.
Your team really contributed.
They really carried me through.
Mhm.
I had some incredible producers and people who kind of walked me through the world of film. I was very, very, very new to, and was just kind of flying by on the seat of my pants, and a lot of creativity and a lot of like forced confidence that really pulled through in the end. And I'm very grateful to have a lot of all the help that I had. Annie Fleisch, who's currently doing directing in LA, fantastic, wonderful person. Grace Pommels, who is also my producer, Kevin Dooley, my AD, they were all really, really lovely and really kind of carried me through a lot of the process. My cinematographer, RJ Solomon, also was fantastic. We actually uh, lost our lost our cinematographer like I think 2 weeks before production, which was like the most terrifying thing to hear. And he really picked it up, and not only did he picked it up, but he fell in love with the script and was just really excited to work on it with me. And so it really, really, it felt very special.
I want to go off topic to say an editorial comment. I think it's appropriate now. What you're tackling, adult ADHD, is a brave and a socially hugely responsible thing. Because I sit here in this chair many hours a day reading a confluence of many articles on so many different aspects of health and of aging. And it's the funniest thing. I keep getting barrage from WebMD and from all these email things that I get literally every day. It's like between AI and all these things, I'm half a doctor. And I could tell a million stories about, the doctor stuff. But I keep getting things about adult ADHD, and I scratch my head and I look back on, growing up in the '60s, those four letters didn't exist, yet the condition did. What you've done, I think, and from a firsthand experience, I think is extraordinary that you're socially conscious and socially aware to discuss a subject that is really, you said it's not even as diagnosed for women as readily as it should be,
Yeah.
it's like kept in the closet. I mean, maybe that's a bad analogy. It's not widely, and it should be because there's a lot more people affected by it, but have no clue.
Yeah.
So, Brianna Troise, I tip my hat to you because I think, no, I really
Thank you.
mean that. I think this film really, really should have a tremendous pair of legs and should be readily seen because it's a powerful message on something that's prevalent enough to warrant that kind of attention. And you didn't you took you were brave. You were
I
brave,
appreciate it.
and I mean that. Which segues to my next question. So, how's the reception been so far?
Um, it has been really powerful. I made a point not to I think bring up or muddle the story with something of this is a movie about ADHD somewhere within it. I made a pretty concrete push not to do that because I wanted it to speak for itself, and whoever saw it, and whoever didn't. And the message that I wanted was that you could show up to a screening and you would see the movie and you might not understand it, but the person to your right would be in tears. And that's I think I was very successful in that. To be honest, I actually ended up through showing the script to people and doing the process, ended up um, diagnosing a lot of my professors. This was a thesis film. I ran through a lot of stuff with them when they started reading it, and they were like, "Hey, I relate to this a lot, actually." And I was like, "Yeah."
Mm.
And I remember when I did the screening, I think the very similar two responses was this film was good, it's cool, I liked it, and thank you so much for doing this. And I saw it, and it really just I've never felt so seen in a theater before. I actually got a colleague of mine uh came up to me and sent me a message and was like, "Hey, there's this I think sophomore that really wants to talk to you, sent me through her Discord, and she said that she's like, I just had to talk to you. I've never been, I was crying in the theater. I think I have all these problems, and I just, I didn't think anyone got it. I never thought that anyone could understand. So thank you. And that made everything worth it. If that one person saw it, then I would be happy. Everything would have been worth it in the end. So yeah, it's been pretty awesome. It's been really powerful. I love talking to people after seeing the screening. Yeah.
Okay. Anything you do differently looking back? Um,
Yeah, I think two things actually. I adore horror films. Um, I love horror films. And I think going back, I would try and make it a little more unnerving. I think the original art and the original concept art and stuff that I had in mind was much more darker in appearance. And I think what I would have done differently is probably make some of the lighting reflect that to be a little more surreal. And there's also, I guess I'm not even thinking doing it differently, but there's at the end, her friend, Alice ends up, it's like a little surprise gag where she ends up being there at the end, and she's like, oh, your friend Gabby, who's on the phone with you and just hung up and kind of made you feel like Garbo. Look, she'll be fine. I'm not going on this trip anyway, because of some other drama. And we're gonna figure this out together. We're gonna help clean your room. We're gonna get your SLIS scheduled, and we're gonna break it down to a better, more manageable system. Um, and that was a that was actually a change to the script after I had shown multiple people the original, and they were like, "This is really sad." Because the original script ended right there when she hangs up the phone and is kind of left alone. Um, and I always go back and I wonder, I think I have an edit like that sitting around somewhere, but I always go back and wonder what the film would look like if it had ended on such a dire note. And if it would have been more healthy for the message or not. I'll never know because I picked one of them and I like how it turned out. But yeah,
good.
I think those are the things that I
Okay.
would go back and do differently.
Uh, Horror films. What are some of your favorite horror films?
I So I love the old Halloween movie. That's probably my favorite. The Thing. John Carpenter is like such an inspiration, such a wonderful guy. Um Robert Eggers made some fantastic films that I've been obsessed with. Nosferatu was so awesome. I love Ari Aster. I loved Hereditary and Midsummer. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of and Mike Flanagan, who we've talked about.
Right.
He's I remember when I watched Hush, I think I've watched that film probably like 25 times because it's the perfect film to put on. Um, yeah, I think actually looking back, one of my first horror movies that I ever watched was The Babadook, and looking back, that makes a lot of sense. A film that is a huge analogy for depression, that is kind of one of the scariest things I've ever watched. Um, yeah, I love thrillers and horrors. They don't have to be scary; they just have to be dark. And that's
Mm.
kind of something I really enjoy. Things that are make you uncomfortable. I like that feeling, and I think if you're not feeling that in a theater, it's not really doing the best job at telling a message. Yeah.
Yeah. Funny you said that. You said John Carpenter's The Thing, but that was actually a remake from a movie.
Oh,
Yeah, most people don't know that. There was a movie that came out in the 50s, and you should check it out. I used to call it The Thing, and my son Neil kept telling me, Dad, that's not the title. It was something that came from outer space, something, but it was with James Whitmore. But, and because you were a filmmaker, the dialogue in this movie, and it's about a creature that comes from outer space and is frozen in the frozen
Yeah.
Arctic. It was the same. It's a remake, but it was so well done. We're talking 50s here, those unsophisticated 50s. It was so well done, scary, and the dialogue was bristling. So whoever wrote it, I just thought the dial it was so real, and that's what like kind of sucked you into this because it was so real, the dialogue and everything going on and the action. I just personally, from my own vantage point, I just thought it was fabulous.
Yeah.
My other horror thing, The Exorcist, um, continues to scare the living hell out of me.
I actually
Scares me.
I haven't checked out The Exorcist yet. I've been I've
Don't,
kind of been a baby about watching it too. I've been too
don't,
scared. I was wondering if it's gonna freak me out.
don't. Don't. Yeah,
Oh, now
well,
I
because
want
there's
to.
there's aspects of that I question. That I question. The little girl saying the things she did, she's too young to have heard the words that she said. So therefore, and medicine said, oh well, she had Tourette's. They're trying to cover up. In the book and in real life, how does a little girl who's never heard those words say those words?
Yeah.
There has to be something, and that's what scares the hell out of me. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, moving on. Um, you're developing as a filmmaker. Any different approaches, any different styles for your next project? Or are you thinking about a next project now?
Um, right now I am focusing on meeting new filmmakers and growing my craft. I am definitely drafting up a script in the future that I will be applying to more film festivals. And yeah, I don't want to talk about it too much,
That's
but
fine. No, you don't have to talk about it. That's
I'm
fine.
pretty excited and I'm pretty excited to keep getting the script going and hopefully I will be showing up to the Garden State again and you will hear from me.
Good, 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 good. Because I'm here. I told you I'm here. One last question, semi off topic. 2 weeks ago, I watched Academy Awards, and I was elevated and innervated when I saw that an indie won basically best of everything. Best film, best director, best actress, with a $6 million budget, which is a lot of money, but which in the scheme of Hollywood is not. So I just thought this is like the bell ringing of a new era, maybe a new, more pronounced era of elevating the wonderful things that indie filmmakers do. So, did you walk away with any positivity from that?
Oh, I think the world is this is such an interesting topic to me because I did start like wanting to do video games. I went to SVA to do 3D animation for video games because of how much I loved it. And then I touched a model and I was like, I never want to do this again. But what I really love about what's happening in story and media right now, and I think that games and film always kind of align the same way, but no one really notices because no one pays attention to the same platforms. Um, an indie game, Balatro, was made by one guy, won Game of the Year this year, the same year that happened with the Oscars, and you know, there's and not only that, but you see like shows and movies made by smaller directors are kind of becoming the height of our world, and I think it's a lot of it has to do with the fact that I think I think people want to see good stuff. They want to see competition and they want to see things that are new and fresh, but things that are that can stand by their own merit. I think the age of the blockbuster is kind of leaving us as a new age of desire to find good media and to experience fantastic film is becoming yeah, I think it's part of healing. I think there's a great change and I don't think it's a bad thing.
Good.
I'm really excited. Because I don't know, I'm an indie filmmaker and I like indie films. Yeah, I don't think I loved it.
Yep. Good. Good, good, good. Me too. And listen, I'm an indie author. You're an indie filmmaker. We are comrades, and great feelings. The indie struggles in the indie world. So, Brianna, this has been great. This is good stuff. Great commonality and great energy. And again, I can't thank you enough for being here and for sharing some of this stuff and for doing what you did to take a sensitive subject, ADHD adult, and to bring it to light. And
Thank
that's
you so much.
part of what film is, to bring things to light. And you did a bright light. And I thank
Oh,
you. Yep,
yeah,
I
it's
thank you.
I think my biggest message, my most important thing is, you know, uh, if you ever watch the film and you're ever struggling and you can see yourself in it in some way, know that you are not alone and that everyone is going through it, and that just because you have to do certain things a little differently from other people doesn't mean that you can't do them at all. Um, you know, I think that's what I want.
I'm sitting here listening to you. And you talk like you're 44 years old, which is a huge compliment. It's such depth and breadth and grasp. Great compliment, and you deserve it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This has been great. So I'm going to stop recording now. I'm inviting you to come back, and we'll do a 2-minute wrap. Thank you so much, Brianna.
Of course.